How does a band of rowdy losers go from getting thrown out of taverns butt naked,
My love, it's time for us to... Oh, for goodness sakes!
to saving the entire worlds from godlike dragons like this? Stick around, because today we're covering the insane story of the Legends of Vox Machina. Let's get right into it. Our story begins in the kingdom of Tal'Dorei, on the planet Exandria. Tal'Dorei was once a battleground for gods and titans, and for the longest time there's been relative peace and harmony. But that doesn't last, because a great evil is now upon the land, and naturally, a brave band of heroes show up ready to face it.
What the...
Well, that went about as well as you'd expect. These so-called heroes get absolutely demolished by some mysterious beasts before they can even finish their speech. In Emon, the capital city of Tal'Dorei, the king's sovereign Uriel and his council are at the palace freaking out because every person they've hired to fight off the beast has been slaughtered. They need to find someone, anyone capable of defeating this monster. Their solution is to hire more mercenaries. And why not send the army, you ask? Well, Uriel is not about to leave the entire kingdom defenseless when they literally have no idea what they're even up against. Meanwhile, we meet our actual heroes at a tavern, and they are a mess.
Because it's the fastest way to get drunk, obviously.
Who's drunk? Not me, I'm great.
Vox Machina is getting wasted, picking fights, and generally being the least professional mercenaries you've ever seen. We've got Grog, this massive Hulk-looking warrior, Percy, the gunslinger, the twins Vaxildan and Vexalia, Pike, who's like 3 feet tall but can heal pretty much anyone using her connection to her goddess, the Everlight Caliph, a girl who can control nature with magic, and finally, Scanlan, the singer with a magical lute who's currently busy with a lady upstairs.
La-da-da, la-da-da. My lady's rose I will pluck.
I guess that rose isn't the only thing getting plucked tonight. Oh, and that lady? Yeah, she's the tavern owner's daughter. Meanwhile, downstairs, a big fight breaks out, and Daddy Dearest is not happy about it. Naturally, our heroes get thrown out, so now they're banned, broke, and hopeless, with, 0 job prospects. But then they spot a notice about the monster hunting job. Next thing you know, they're at the palace, looking like they just crawled out of a dumpster. The council is not impressed, but somehow Sovereign Uriel hires them anyway. His reason? He likes their bear, Trinket. That's it. Really though, the kingdom is obviously desperate, and they'll take anyone at this point. Later, one of the council members, Lady Alra, flies them to Shale Steps, the village where the wild beast was last spotted. Our heroes track muddy footprints through the woods. Then out of nowhere, a massive dragon shows up. They try to fight the monster, but they get absolutely owned. They're no match for this massive beast. The group only survives because Caliph grows a giant thorny bush that shields them from the chaos. The dragon flies off, leaving them battered and broken, as they're debating whether to bail on the job. Vex tells us that she can sense dragons, and she felt that same sensation in the palace. Someone on the council might be involved with this dragon attack. They decide to retreat, but when they get back to the village, it's completely destroyed. Every single person, man, woman, and children, all dead. Damn. The massacre changes everything. Right there, standing among the bodies, they make their choice. They're taking the fight to the dragon, and they're gonna do this even if it's the last thing they ever do.
We're doing this. You all realize we're going to die a truly horrible death.
Perhaps, sister, but we'll die gloriously.
Episode 2 opens with General Krieg giving his troops a dramatic pep talk before facing whatever destroyed the Shale Steps. Later that night, the dragon shows up again and absolutely destroys the encampment. Their arrows do nothing, and their catapults might as well be throwing pebbles. Krieg barely escapes with a handful of survivors. Back at the palace, Krieg delivers the bad news to Uriel. While they're brainstorming solutions, the sketchy guy named Sir Fince suggests just throwing gold at the dragon to appease it, which is kinda sus if you ask me, and the council shuts that down pretty quick. Meanwhile, the Vox team returns to the palace, and soon enough, Vax gets that weird feeling again. The same one she had near the dragon. The traitor is around, and naturally, it has to be that weird guy Fince. So they split up to track him down. Vax and Pike head to a shop to get arms, while the others tail Fince. At the weapons shop, the owner, Gilmore, is just flirting with Vax the entire time. And because they're broke, the crew can't afford any actual weapons, so Vax pivots and just asks about the dragon's weakness. Gilmore tells a story about the dragon, and then he says something that might actually be the key to defeating this monster.
The worm shall only find defeat in the gorge where the twin rivers meet.
Meanwhile, Scanlan and Grog spot Fince sneaking into General Krieg's mansion. They follow him and find Fince in the cellar with suspicious documents. Before he can explain, General Krieg appears and kills him. Surprise, surprise! General Krieg is the traitor all along. And I gotta say, I didn't see that coming. Anyway, our heroes try to take him down, but Krieg escapes through a magical portal in his cellar. The team follows, and they find themselves in a large cave filled with a ton of treasures. Krieg shows up again, but in a crazy twist, he transforms into Brimscythe, the blue dragon. Oh jeez, the twists just keep piling up. The fight goes about as well as you'd expect. Brimscythe destroys them, nearly killing Pike, but Vax remembers Gilmore's words and realizes that in order to win, they have to target the dragon's neck where two arteries meet. So the team hatches a plan. Scanlan kicks things off with an illusion to distract the dragon. And while that's going on, Kaelith traps her using her magical vines. Percy triggers a cave-in, sending massive boulders crashing into the dragon. Then Pike supercharges one of Vax's arrows with flame, and it flies straight through the neck, dropping the monster to its knees. Finally, Grog steps up for the grand finale. One swing of that massive axe, and he severs the dragon's head. Don't celebrate just yet, cause the cave immediately starts collapsing. Thankfully, our heroes were able to escape through the portal, snagging a large chunk of the dragon's body on their way out. At the palace, Uriel rewards them with a new home and titles them Protectors of the Realm, which basically means, stay close, we're gonna need you again. He also invites Vox Machina to a banquet with other important dignitaries, which is where we meet Lord Silas and Lady Delilah Briarwood. In a carriage heading to Emon, the capital of Tal'Dorei, bandits literally appear out of nowhere. But this Silas guy doesn't even flinch. Why? Well, he's got dark magical powers and he literally tears them apart. Yeesh, that's insane. Episode 3 kicks off with Percy having the worst possible wake-up call. A nightmare about his family getting murdered. He sees his father, his sister, and everything he knows gets destroyed in the horrible attack. The next morning at their new place, Lady Alra shows up to remind them about Sovereign Uriel's dinner party that night. It's not just free food though. Diplomats from all across Tal'Dorei will be there to form a security pact. Later, the team shows up at the palace. Then, the arrival of Lord Silas, ruler of Whitestone, gets announced and Percy completely loses it. He has violent flashbacks and looks like he's about to murder someone. Vex notices something's wrong, and Percy reveals the truth. Whitestone was his home, and the Briarwoods violently overthrew his family and seized control of Whitestone. So naturally, Vox Machina decides that they need intel about these folks. Vax volunteers to sneak into the Briarwoods suite during dinner to see what he can find. While Vax is upstairs rummaging through their stuff, Percy's downstairs having the most uncomfortable dinner of his life. He's just sitting there, staring daggers at the people who murdered his entire family. And the Briarwoods, they're working the room. Silas magically charms Sovereign Uriel, basically mind-controlling him into ignoring any suspicious activity coming from Whitestone. Meanwhile, Delilah's spinning this story about how the Derolos, Percy's family, just gave up power willingly and left in shame. At this point, Percy's had enough, and he calls Delilah a liar in front of everyone, and the Briarwoods, clearly done with this dinner, excuse themselves and head upstairs. Unfortunately for Vax, that's exactly where he is. He's just found this hidden book mentioning something called the Whispered One. When Silas and Delilah walk in, they catch him red-handed. Silas doesn't even hesitate, he just lunges and sinks his fangs straight into Vax's neck. He drains Vax's blood, leaving him barely conscious. Vax smashes through a window and crashes into the courtyard below, with the Briarwoods right behind him. Luckily, his team hears the commotion and rushes to help. A battle erupts in the courtyard, and let's just say it doesn't go well for our heroes. Silas and Delilah are on another level. The Vox Machina gets absolutely wrecked. Delilah hits Pike with some dark magic that corrupts Pike's connection to her goddess, aka the Everlight. Things are looking really bad, so Kaelith spawns a massive vine barrier to give them some breathing room. The Briarwoods decide they've done enough damage and make their exit, leaving their poor chauffeur behind. Percy is visibly pissed, and he goes full murder mode. He throws on his creepy plague doctor mask and executes the chauffeur in cold blood.
Please don't hurt me!
Percy, stop!
And here's the thing, when Percy wears that mask, something takes over. This isn't just rage, there's something else controlling him. Of course, this is the exact moment Sovereign Uriel decides to show up, and he sees the body, a destroyed courtyard, and Vox Machina standing over it all. So obviously, he arrests the entire group. Episode 4 starts with Vox Machina dealing with the fallout from absolutely wrecking that banquet. Sovereign Uriel is pissed, ready to throw them behind bars for assaulting the Briarwoods. Lady Alra steps in with a fair compromise. House arrest at their their place while she investigates. The team's not thrilled, but it beats a dungeon cell. The guards confiscate all of their weapons and gear. Heck, they even take Scanlan's loot. With nothing to distract themselves, the team immediately starts bickering about their next move. Scanlan's trying to decode Delilah's cryptic book, while Vax is demanding answers about why Percy nearly murdered the chauffeur. Percy finally spills his tragic backstory. The Briarwoods came to Whitestone as allies, then proceeded to murder his entire family, including his sister, Cassandra, while they were trying to escape. Really dark stuff. Now he wants revenge, and honestly, who can blame him? Things get worse when Pike realizes that she can't connect with the Everlight after Delilah's spell hit her, and Pike's genuinely terrified that she's lost her goddess. Meanwhile, the Briarwoods are having their own crisis because Vax took Delilah's evil book. Silas assures her that it's no biggie though, because they've got a backup plan. And by a backup plan, I mean summoning creepy shadow monsters in a graveyard. These shadows immediately go after Vox Machina to retrieve Delilah's book. Soon enough, things go sideways, where our heroes are being held. Those mysterious shadows start taking out the guards, keeping watch over them, one after the other. So Jarrett, captain of the guards, is left trying to figure out what the hell is hunting his boys. The ghost-like shadows attack the house, phasing through walls and hunting for Delilah's book. The team fights back despite having no weapons, and things are looking pretty grim. That's until the captain accidentally discovers that these things can be hurt by light. Jarrett strikes his sword against the stone, creating a flame, and suddenly the ghosts back off. Percy immediately connects the dots and tells Caliph to use her ability to generate sunlight. The light renders the ghosts completely powerless, giving the team the opening they need to take them down. After barely surviving, Jarrett lets Vox Machina go, because at this point, even he knows the Briarwoods are the real threat. The team decides to march on Whitestone together, to stop the evil couple and clear their names. But Pike makes a different choice. She needs to find a temple and reconnect with the Everlight by herself. The 5th episode opens with the team breaking into Gilmore's shop while running from the guards. When Gilmore catches them, he's surprisingly chill about the whole situation and hooks them up with vampire hunting gear. Enchanted arrows, holy water, garlic, all that stuff. According to Gilmore, only holy water and sunlight can actually stop vampires, and he's only got one vial, so they've got to make it count. On the road to Whitestone, Caliph tries translating Delilah's book, and she discovers something called a Ziggurat, an ancient structure used to summon gods, but most of the book is written in a cryptic language that Caliph can't read. And if that isn't bad enough, Vex spots something tailing them. Turns out to be a pack of these absolutely horrifying creatures. Yikes. So yeah, not great. Multiple creatures attack, courtesy of Delilah. During the chaos, one of the creatures grabs Scanlan as their wagon careens towards a cliff. Percy yells for everyone to bail before it goes over the bridge, and they do. Everyone except for Scanlan, who goes down with it. They think he's dead until his magical hand appears from below.
Rise, mighty Scanlan, rise.
That's cool, Scanlan, but here's the real problem. During all that chaos, the bag containing all of their supplies fell off the wagon. Well, there goes everything they need. Back in Whitestone, Delilah's cooking up something sinister with Professor Anders. This guy was Percy's former tutor, and he sold out his entire family. They're refining residuum, this crazy powerful magical substance, for some kind of ritual. And then a family arrives as special dinner guests. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a lovely, totally normal dinner. Meanwhile, Pike finally makes it to the temple, desperate for answers. She tells a cleric about how she lost her connection to the Everlight. The cleric listens to all of this and tells Pike that whatever's happened to her, the Everlight accepts her as she is, which is nice and all, but Pike kinda needs her powers back. Meanwhile, the others finally reach Whitestone. Percy describes what Whitestone used to be, this beautiful, lush city with legendary orchards and a sun tree, a sacred tree supposedly planted 1,000 years ago. Instead, what they find is an abandoned ghost town with creepy emptiness. And then they see it, the sun tree, now decorated with hanging bodies dressed as Vox Machina. Yikes. And those bodies? They're the same family the Briarwoods invited for dinner. Yikes, these guys are seriously twisted. Episode 6 opens with the resistance against the Briarwoods having a really, really bad day. Members are being hunted down and killed by the Briarwoods enforcers, who are basically a bunch of henchmen. Archie, who's leading what's left of the rebellion, decides the smart move is to go round up everyone who can hold a weapon. Spoiler alert, this meeting doesn't stay secret for long. The Briarwoods forces crash the party, and one of the rebels sacrifices himself so Archie can escape, but Archie gets captured anyway anyway by Stonefell, one of the Briarwood's enforcers. Meanwhile, Vox Machina's still taking in the horror show that is Whitestone. They meet Keeper Yenin, a priest who's telling everyone to be patient and wait for divine intervention. Yenin recognizes Percy, but notes that he's different now. Percy admits he's only here for revenge, and has zero interest in playing hero. Then Yenin tells him the Resistance needs a leader. But here's the thing, that leader happens to be Percy's childhood friend Archie, who's getting hanged tomorrow. Percy reluctantly agrees to help, mostly because he can use the Resistance for his revenge tour. At the temple, Pike's having a spiritual crisis. She can't reach the Everlight no matter how hard she tries. A priest tells Pike that the problem isn't a curse. It's coming from inside her. What that means, I have no idea. At the prison, Archie's getting mercilessly tortured by Stonefell and this giant guy called the Duke. They want intel on Vox Machina, but Archie's not budging. To rescue him, Vox Machina splits up for the prison break. The first team finds the prisoners and starts freeing everyone. Meanwhile, Percy's group finds Archie, but then Percy locks eyes on Stonefell and immediately abandons the entire plan to chase him down. Stonefell makes the mistake of taunting Percy about killing his family, so Percy shoots him in the face. Another name burns off Percy's pepper box. Yeah, that's what Percy calls his gun. Sounds kinda badass, honestly. Later, Vex confronts Percy about abandoning the mission for revenge, but Percy fires back that he's the last Derolo, and he'll have his vengeance. Except Cassandra, Percy's sister, is still alive with the Briarwoods. Okay, now things just got a little more interesting. Episode 7 opens with a flashback to happier times in Whitestone. Young Percy and Cassandra are getting a lesson from Professor Anders about Residuum, a fancy magical amplifier mined from Whitestone's mountains. When Percy's dad shuts down Anders' ambitious refinery proposal, Anders gets real bitter about it.
Why do I bother? No one appreciates me, no one at all.
Professor, it's just an experiment.
Not to me!
Yeah, that's some serious foreshadowing right there. Back in the present, Vex confronts Percy about that gun situation earlier. Percy finally comes clean about the Pepperbox's origin story. 5 years of pain and trauma after his family's murder drove Percy to hunt for revenge. And during that time, he had this mysterious dream that gave him the blueprints for his revenge weapon. He's got names carved on each barrel for the people who destroyed his family. And as for Carrion Stonefell, he's just one out of the 5 names that he's got. Archie reveals that Professor Anders is holding Cassandra hostage in one of the old Derolo residences. The team then hatches a plan. Scanlan will create a distraction by burning down Duke's house. You know, the giant who tortured Archie, while the others rescue Percy's sister. Everyone thinks that Scanlan's joking because, well, he's Scanlan, but the little guy insists that he's got this. Scanlan sneaks into a mansion belonging to Vedmire, one of the Briarwood's enforcers, and immediately everything goes south. Scanlan's distraction involves chugging different potions that give him various powers, helping him evade the guards, and Duke. Like he's speedrunning a game or something. When he runs out of potions, he pulls out a scroll he took from Brimscythe's cave back in episode 2 and transforms into a frickin' dinosaur, wrecking the place. But his luck runs out when the spell expires, leaving him alone with Duke on the roof. Duke's about to crush him, ready to end this weak, small gnome, but Scanlan's got one last trick up his sleeves.
Size doesn't matter. It's how you use it.
You heard him, boys. It's all about how you use it. While Scanlan battles Duke and somehow doesn't die, the team infiltrates Anders' house. But it's a trap. As soon as they enter, they get swarmed by guards. Though they put up a fight, Vox Machina has a field day with them. Amidst all the fighting, Percy sees Professor Anders and trails him through the mansion. When he finally corners him, Percy demands Cassandra's release. Anders looks at Percy, looks at Cassandra, and then does the unthinkable. He slits Cassandra's throat right in front of him. Jeez, that's brutal. Episode 8 starts with Cassandra dying in Percy's arms after Anders slit her throat. Caliph frantically works to heal her, pouring everything she has into the spell. And it works. Cassandra's alive. Meanwhile, Anders is still fighting, and now he summons robotic armor to fight the team. The robots seem unstoppable at first, but the team quickly finds a weak spot and takes him down. Things get worse when Professor Anders mind controls Grog, forcing him to attack his own friends. Yikes, that's not ideal. But it gets worse. Anders possesses the rest of the team, turning everyone against Percy. While his friends are trying to kill him, Percy plays it smart. He starts flattering Anders, and the professor completely falls for it. Percy uses this distraction to take his shot at Anders' magical tongue. Man, that's one hell of a trick shot. The bullet ricochets perfectly into Anders' mouth, snapping everyone out of his control. In this episode's most brutal moments, Percy confronts his former teacher about the betrayal.
And you betrayed us when we needed you most. You're the face I saw when murder entered my heart.
This is personal, and you can feel the years of rage pouring out. He then kills Anders without hesitation. Meanwhile, in the astral plane, or whatever, the Everlight puts Pike through literal trial by fire because apparently Pike's been lying to herself. She thought the goddess cut her off because she chose her rowdy friends over religious devotion, but the Everlight reveals that Pike severed the connection herself by trying to be someone that she's not. Any path can be holy as long as you walk it with truth. You're probably wondering where the Briarwoods are in all of this. Well, Delilah answers that question by sacrificing her steward and summoning a zombie horde that surrounds Vox Machina. The episode ends with the team staring down an undead army. Things just escalated significantly. In episode 9, we open with a flashback showing how the Briarwoods became vampires. When Silas was dying, Delilah made a deal with some creepy entity called the Whispering One, performing a dark ritual to bring her husband back. Yeesh. Back in the present, Vox Machina is surrounded by literally thousands of zombies. The undead are fast, aggressive, and absolutely terrifying. They fight their way to a safe house where the anti-Briarwood rebels are hiding. But Scanlan's been bitten, and the wound is spreading. He's got about an hour before he loses the arm. Things go from bad to worse when zombie giants show up. Archie tries to rally the resistance, but he gets killed when protecting Scanlan. Archie's death crushes Percy. The rebels are losing hope and looking to him for leadership, but Percy insists he's not the one because he ran away when the people needed him. Cassandra finally snaps him out of it, reminding him that everyone's lives were shattered that day, not just his. Then Percy steps up with an epic speech rallying the people of Whitestone to fight back. Vox Machina is cornered by zombies. Things are falling apart, and death seems pretty inevitable, which is apparently the perfect time for Vax to confess his feelings to Caliph. They've been dancing around this for episodes now, little comments here, emotional support there, the kind of energy you can't ignore.
You know I'm in love with you, right?
Wait.
What? Now? I mean, this is like the worst time.
Yeah, great timing, dude. Just when things look completely hopeless, Pike arrives in a blaze of divine light via astral projection. She's literally glowing and hovering above the battlefield like an angel. After her trial with the Everlight, she's reconnected with her goddess and is absolutely wrecking the zombies with divine powers. The tide turns as Pike blesses the rebels' weapons, and the people of Whitestone take back their city. In the chaos, they manage to capture Duke, that giant who's been terrorizing everyone. The mob gets him because Percy decides Duke's not worth the bullet. With the city secured, Vox Machina heads to the castle through a secret tunnel Percy and Cassandra used as kids. In the dungeons, they find a mysterious prisoner who claims she's an enemy of the Briarwoods and can lead them to their targets. Before anyone can process this, though, Percy's already got his gun aimed at her. Yeah, he's not exactly in a trusting mood right now. Episode 10 kicks off with Percy pointing his gun at Dr. Anna Ripley, the woman who tortured him and Cassandra years ago. The team wants to interrogate her, but Percy just wants her dead. A flashback shows Ripley torturing young Percy for information about the secrets under Whitestone. Yeah, Percy's got some serious trauma to unpack here. How did she get imprisoned? Well, she claims she had moral objections to the Briarwoods' plans, which is rich coming from someone who tortures children. Ripley reveals that the Briarwoods aren't in the throne room. They're at a Ziggurat deep beneath the castle, and she agrees to lead them there in exchange for her life. The team descends through the castle dungeons before they discover a massive residium. The Briarwoods have been producing tons of this magical amplifier, but for what purpose? That question gets put on hold real quick when Cassandra turns on them. Turns out she's been working with the Briarwoods the whole time. I mean, I already saw that coming, because no way she spent those years with them and not get corrupted. Anyway, Cassandra traps them inside the refinery, but Vax is able to get out just in time before the door is locked. There's really no point to that, though, because Silas immediately shows up and charms Vax's mind. Vax and Cassandra leave with him, while trapping the rest of the team in an acid death trap. As acid pours into the room, the team scrambles for solutions. They pile onto Scanlan's magical hand to stay above the rising acid, while Percy spirals into despair. Vex snaps him out of it with a powerful speech reminding them that they need to save both of their siblings. Percy figures out that they need to pull 3 switches simultaneously, including a plug submerged in the acid. Grog volunteers to dive in, and and with Pike healing him, they barely escape. The episode ends with the team discovering the path to the Ziggurat, where the Briarwoods are holding both Vax and Cassandra captive. Delilah mentions needing a blood sacrifice for their ritual, and with 2 prisoners, yeah, that's not so good. Episode 11 starts with the team piecing together what the Briarwoods are planning. Turns out Delilah's book wasn't a spell book, it was an instruction manual for summoning the Whispered One, some powerful undead entity trying to break into their world. Oh, and the Briarwoods are doing this during the winter solstice, when all the walls between worlds are paper thin. Perfect timing for an apocalypse. Vox Machina storms a Ziggurat to find Delilah performing the ritual. The team splits up, Grog takes Silas, and Percy goes after Cassandra. Caliph and Scanlan handle Delilah. Vex, on the other hand, takes on her brother. The fight is absolutely brutal, and in the midst of all the chaos, Anna Ripley slips away. Meanwhile, Vax nearly kills Vex before she manages to snap him out of his mind control by beating the crap out of him. Nothing says I love you like a concussion, apparently. Next, Scanlan gets sliced by Delilah's magic, rendering his spells useless until Pike breaks the enchantment. Percy confronts Cassandra as they fight. She reveals the depths of her pain. The Briarwoods showed her more love than Percy did after he abandoned her, but when Silas calls her weak for hesitating to finish Percy off, something shifts in her eyes. During all this, Kayla's getting overwhelmed by Delilah until she remembers the Sun Tree. She calls on it for help and channels its power into a massive sunlight attack. Over with Grog, he's actually handling Silas pretty well. Turns out, closing his eyes makes him immune to the vampire's charm. Grog pins Silas down and Caliph redirects that sunlight onto the vampire, incinerating him. At the end of the day, sunlight really doesn't agree with the vampires. Delilah, desperate and alone, tries completing the ritual herself, begging the Whispered One to bring Silas back. Vex puts an arrow in Delilah, but she retaliates, sending a massive dark force straight at her. Caliph throws herself in front of Vex, taking the full hit to protect her. It leaves Caliph critically wounded, but the ritual continues anyway. A dark shadow materializes, but for whatever reason, the shadow disappears into a mysterious orb, and then everything calms down. Delilah is absolutely horrified, and that's when Percy puts some bullets in her. But that's not all. Things take a different turn when Pike's astral form cuts out completely.
She's still alive, but barely. I need to do this quickly before...
Ouch. Just when they needed her the most, she vanished. Calith's dying, and no one can heal her. The episode closes with Caliph fading into Vax's arms as the team stands there, too powerless to help. They stopped the ritual and saved Whitestone, but they might have just lost Caliph. In the last episode of Season 1, Caliph is dying and nothing works. Potions, spells, everything fails. Then Scanlan notices something about the orb Delilah's dark shadow left behind. It's blocking all magic. They drag Caliph away from it, and Vax saves Caliph using her own herb techniques. Meanwhile, Percy interrogates Delilah, planning to torture her for every member of his family who was killed by the Briarwoods. But as some weird smoke around him gets worse, the team realizes that he's been possessed by a demon named Orthax. Turns out Percy didn't invent the pepper box alone. Orthax did. Orthax appeared to Percy in his darkest moments and offered revenge in exchange for souls to feed on. Percy, fully possessed, starts attacking everyone. Vex tries taking him down, appealing to the real Percy buried beneath the demon's control. In his mind, Percy battles Orthax while being tormented by visions of his dead family, blaming him for failing them. The demon tries to make him kill Delilah to complete their bargain, but Cassandra reaches through him, reminding him who he really is. Percy makes the ultimate choice, and he aims the pepper box at himself and fires, rejecting the demon. With Percy free, Cassandra takes her revenge on Delilah, stabbing her in the neck. Then they dump both Delilah's body and the pepper box into an acid bath, just to be safe. After everything, Percy pulls Cassandra aside for a conversation that's been a long time coming. He tells her that he can't lead Whitestone because of his anger issues, and that's why she's the rightful heir, and it's about time that she stepped up. Meanwhile, Vax and Caliph decide to put their feelings on hold because apparently duty calls.
And it's the first time anyone's ever said that to me. But we have responsibilities.
Well, that's disappointing. And yeah, Vax is absolutely shattered. Later, Scanlan asks Keeper Yenin about that mysterious orb, and it turns out it's called the Spinning Orb of Death. And true to its words, the show cuts to it literally sucking in one of the guards Yenin sent to investigate. Yikes. Back at their place in Emon, Pike reunites with the team in her actual body. Later, Jarrett brings the news that Sovereign Uriel has summoned them to the palace. Uriel announces that he's abdicating the throne, having been inspired by Vox Machina's teamwork. He's basically like, you know what, 2 heads are better than 1 when it comes to running a kingdom. So Uriel is handing the power to the Council of Tal'Dorei to rule together. Just as he's introducing the new council members, everyone looks up to see 4 massive dragons attacking the city. Well, that escalated quickly. Moving on to episode 1 of season 2, we pick up exactly where we left off, with 4 ancient dragons attacking Emon during Uriel's abdication speech. These dragons are known as the Chroma Conclave, and they are not messing around. A massive green dragon named Raishan lands in the palace courtyard and spews poison gas at the fleeing royal family. Allura manages to save Uriel's wife and kids with a protective bubble, but everyone else dies, including Uriel himself. Yikes, this guy literally just gave up the throne like 5 minutes ago, and he immediately gets murked? Talk about bad timing. The city descends into absolute chaos as the dragons lay waste to everything. Vox Machina gets separated while fleeing. One half of the team encounters Raishan. Grog tries to attack her, but only succeeds in breaking his axe. The other half gets chased by Umbrasil, a black dragon who knocks Percy out with falling debris. The massive red dragon Thordak tells the terrified citizens to either surrender or die. The team reunites at Gilmore's shop, only to find it destroyed with Gilmore injured in the ruins. He tells them to take whatever they need. Everyone grabs useful magical items, while Scanlan gets stuck with what appears to be a worthless broom. Gilmore transports them outside town to Greyskull Keep, using an enchanted stone, along with a crowd of refugees. But the white dragon Volregal follows them there and destroys the keep. Calith frantically opens a portal to Whitestone just in time for everyone to escape through the Sun Tree. In Whitestone, the team debates what to do next. Scanlan's frustrated and realistic, as he believes they're nowhere near strong enough to fight 4 ancient dragons. But when he overhears refugee children talking about the heroes who fought the dragon, he changes his mind. Keeper Yenin suggests seeking help in Vasselheim, the holy city. Calith opens up another portal, and the team leaps through. Meanwhile, Thordak sends Umbrasil to Westrun, another city in Tal'Dorei, to collect the gold and hunt down those who escaped. Episode 2 starts with Calith's tree portal opening mid-air over a cliff outside Vasselheim. Scanlan warns everyone, but it's too late. In the blink of an eye, they all start to plummet. Luckily, Calith shapeshifts into a giant eagle to catch some of them while Scanlan conjures a giant butt-shaped cushion to break their fall. At Vasselheim, they meet High Bearer Vord, who runs the Platinum Sanctuary, basically like Emon's council, but for this city, of course. Vord confirms the dragon's attack through a vision, but then she refuses to help. Vord says Vasselheim has to stay isolated if it wants to survive, so they can't get involved with the Vox Machina. One of the dignitaries suggests that they try the Slayer's Take, a guild of hunters for hire, but when they arrived, Kashaw recognizes Vex and Vax from a wanted poster. Turns out Vex once poached a monster from another hunter named Zara and stole their reward. The entire take surrounds them menacingly, and just as things are about to get violent, a female voice commands them to stop, and the floor collapses from beneath Vox Machina. Meanwhile, Grog wanders off and finds himself in a temple where an elderly man named Earthbreaker Grun proceeds to kick his ass repeatedly. Grun asks where Grog's strength comes from, and every wrong answer earns another beatdown. The lesson here is that Grog's dependence on his sword proves his weakness, not his strength. Okay. The rest of the party meets Osisa, a sphinx who serves as the Take's patron. She brutally calls out everyone's deepest insecurities. Vax depends entirely on his sister. Vex desperately seeks her father's approval, while Percy wallows in self-pity. Pike lacks faith in herself, and Calith runs from a responsibility. For Scanlan, Osisa says no one cares about him. Damn. When Osisa tells them to leave, Pike refuses. They may die, but they won't go anyway. This declaration of resolve is exactly what Osisa wanted to hear. Osisa reveals the vestiges of divergence, legendary weapons created to fight gods themselves. During an event Osesa calls the Calamity. If they can recover one of these legendary weapons called the Deathwalker's Ward in a tomb near a lake, her mate or partner, Kamal Giori, will tell them where the rest are. Episode 3 opens with Pike having a vision from the Everlight. She's in Emon watching Thordak incinerate people. The dragons are expanding their control across all of Tal'Dorei, and things are getting worse. Back in the present, Vex scouts ahead and finds the lake Osisa mentioned, but no tomb. Scanlan decides the smart move is to ice skate across the frozen lake using Scanlan's hand, which immediately gets him attacked by a fish creature called an Adaro. Luckily, Kashaw and Zara show up to help, revealing Osisa sent them. At dawn, the group finally finds the tomb under an ice lake. Zara and Calith work together to break the ice and hold back the lake water, revealing the tomb entrance. Kashaw explains that the tomb belongs to the Matron of Ravens, goddess of death. and it houses her champion, Pervin Sul. Champions are basically mortals chosen to carry out a god's will on Earth. While it seems Kasha and Zara are there to help, the truth is they secretly plan to let Vox Machina handle the difficult stuff, then steal the vestige for themselves. The tomb is indeed heavily booby-trapped, and the team gets separated multiple times. When some Adaro ambush them, Grog just snaps. He just goes full berserker mode, butchering these fish creatures, and the whole time his sword is whispering to him. Pike notices Grog's bloodthirstiness seems excessive even for him. Grog got that sword when they defeated Silas, and it's clearly become a problem. Meanwhile, Kasha and Zara ditch the party and move ahead, but Vox Machina reaches the central room first, where Vax investigates a pit where Percy finds a hidden switch that raises a massive sarcophagus. Inside lies Pervin's body, wearing the Deathwalker's ward. Percy reaches into the sarcophagus, but it triggers a trap. A blast of dark energy strikes Vex, killing her on the spot. Vax drops to his knees, cradling his sister's lifeless body, and the episode ends on that devastating moment. In episode 4, we open with a flashback of young Vax rescuing Vex from bandits. They hide in a wagon containing a dying bear and its cub. Vax ends its suffering while Vex takes the cub. Hello, baby trinket origin story. Back in the present, Vox Machina surrounds Vex's corpse. Kasha and Zara emerge from their secret passage, initially annoyed that the party beat them to the vestige, then horrified to see Vex dead. Kasha tries resurrecting Vex, creating a golden bubble around her, but nothing happens. They're in the Matron of Raven's temple, and her divine power over death is blocking the resurrection magic. All of a sudden, Vax sees a mysterious woman in black. Apparently, this is the Matron of Ravens herself, and she happens to be only visible to him. She reaches towards Vex, shattering the resurrection bubble. A golden tether connects the twins, and Vax watches his sister's spirit departing, so naturally he makes an offer.
Take me instead, you raven!
The matron pauses, considers him for a moment, then cuts the thread between the twins with one finger. Vex then gasps back to life. When she asks how she's alive, everyone turns to Vax, who's now wearing the Deathwalker's ward. The matron accepted his bargain. As they leave, Vax studies a mural of the Calamity and gets pulled into a vision of the God's War. He sees a massive sphinx, Osisa's mate, and Pervin Sul, the matron's former champion, before he quickly gets pulled back into reality. Speaking of reality, Zara is still not done with her heist. She releases a massive tentacled creature from a locket to attack the party and steal the vestige. The creature is actually quite overpowered, and it starts trapping everyone in stone, including Zara herself.
It was bloody hell capturing you, and I am not!
Yikes, talk about having a taste of your own medicine. At this point, only Kasha and Vax are left, but during the chaos, Vax gets pulled into another vision. This time, Vax battles Pervin and gets thoroughly beaten, but when he accepts his fate and stands calmly, Pervin's sword passes harmlessly through him. The former champion kneels, recognizing Vax as the new champion of the Raven Queen. That's when Vax wakes up and something's different. He's moving faster than he ever has before, and the creature unleashed by Zara doesn't stand a chance. Cash, on the other hand, frees the others with his powers while Vax tears through that creature with supernatural speed. Later, Percy tries to apologize for getting Vex killed back there, but Vax has a different response in mind.
I don't know what I would have done different. Right.
As for Zara, she finally apologizes, saying they couldn't risk the vestige falling into the wrong hands. As a peace offering, she gives Vex the locket, which can store creatures in a pocket dimension. The episode closes with Anna Ripley spying on them through a scrying orb, watching from outside the burning ruins of Westrun. Episode 5 opens with a flashback of young Caliph chasing after her mom, Vila, as she leaves for her Aramente, which is basically a spiritual journey for their people, the Ashari. Turns out there are 4 tribes, Caliphs from Air Ashari, and there's also Earth, Fire, and Water. So yeah, kind of like Avatar. We then cut to the present day where Vox Machina is camping in the snow, and Caliph realizes that they're near Pyra, home of the Fire Ashari, where her mom was last seen. She wants to check it out, but doesn't want to slow down the group. Meanwhile, Grog's having a private conversation with his sword, Craven Edge, behind a rock.
I hunger. Yep, for blood.
Yeah, that's totally normal and not concerning at all. And if you're wondering how Grog got beards, he got this magical belt from Gilmore's shop in the first episode of Season 2, and so far the only thing it does is give people beards. It's pretty cool. Back at camp, Vax has this creepy vision of the Matron of Ravens burning cities. When he wakes up, he realizes he can't take off his new armor, which seems like a design flaw nobody mentioned. Meanwhile, the worthless broom Scanlan got at Gilmore's is actually magical. It can fly. When he takes it for a test flight, he spots a volcano erupting nearby. The problem is the volcano should be dormant. If it's it's erupting, then Pyra is in danger. Kalith transforms into a hawk and flies towards it immediately, and the team follows. They find Pyra under attack by flying salamander creatures pouring in from a rift to the elemental plane of fire. A whole dimension that's just fire and nothing but fire. A dragon destroyed the lodestone sealing the rift, and if they don't close it soon, it'll stay open forever. Kalith's father, Corrin, and the Fire Ashari are desperately trying to seal it. Joined by Allura and Lady Kima, a member of the Tal'Dorei Council who survived Emon's destruction, Allura explains that years ago they fought Thordak the dragon and trapped him in the fireplane by implementing this thing called a soul anchor into his chest. The fact that he's escaped means the rift between their world and the fireplane is wide open. At the rift, even the combined power of Corrin, Allura, Pike, and Kalith isn't enough. Corrin falls, and Kalith tearfully confesses that she hasn't finished her Aramente because she's afraid. Remembering her mother's words, she pushes through into the fireplane itself, transforming into a massive fire elemental that destroys the creatures and implodes the rift. Yeesh. Rest assured, though, Kalith is perfectly fine, because what she just did is the trial of fire. She still has to pass earth and water, so stay tuned for that. In episode 6, Grog has a nightmare where Craven Edge makes him slaughter all of Vox Machina. He wakes up to the sword demanding more, and Pike notices him talking to it. She tries to discuss her concerns with Scanlan, but he blows her off. The party travels through a snowy forest towards Rimecleft, home of Osisa's mate, Kamal-Giori. They find pillars carved with ancient runes warning seekers, or fools, flee this land, for dangers come from paradise. Vex scouts on her broom and discovers a cave entrance hidden through an illusion. Inside, they meet the Sphinx, Kamal-Giori, who attacks until Vex mentions Osisa's name. Kamal-Giori hasn't heard from his mate in centuries. To prove their worth, he offers 3 challenges: conquer 70 death gorgons, survive the endless labyrinth of misery, or wound him. Something that's never happened in eons. They choose the 3rd option. Good luck, I guess. Meanwhile, Grog's sword still wants blood. Craven Edge threatens Grog, saying if it's not fed, it will feed itself, and then withers Grog's arm to prove it. Yikes. Honestly, Grog, I'd dump that sword right about now if I were you. Back to the challenge. One by one, everyone tries and fails to wound Kamal-Giori. In fact, they all end up getting blasted into the void. Ouch. For Scanlan, though, things go a little bit differently. At first, Kamal-Giori taunts Scanlan, saying he's nothing but jokes with no real substance. Then Scanlan asks for a moment of sincerity and plays his emotional song about Osisa's love and loneliness without Kamal-Giori. Yep, Scanlan's performance was enough to make a tear roll down the old Sphinx's cheek. Scanlan just wounded his heart. The rest of the team finally wakes up to find Scanlan and Kamal-Giori vibin'. The Sphinx calls Scanlan the wisest sage he's ever met and presents the vestige myth carver. Then Scanlan sees a vision of where the next vestige is located, but out of nowhere the cavern collapses as Umbrasyl attacks. Having been tipped off about the vestige, Kamal-Giori and Vox Machina fight desperately, but Umbrasyl overpowers them, snatching Scanlan and Mythcarver. Kamal-Giori manages to rescue Scanlan but dies from his wounds. During the chaos, Grog accidentally stabs Pike while holding off Umbrasyl. Sheesh! As Kalith opens a portal to escape, the group gets separated across dimensions. Everyone else lands in a different dimension known as the Fey Realm, but Pike, Grog, and Scanlan are nowhere to be found. Episode 7 continues from the last scene in the Fey Realm. This dimension turns out to be equal parts gorgeous and horrifying. They trek through an awoken grove. It's a special place that reacts according to your vibe, so if you're radiating positive energy, it's gonna be harmless. For Vax, nature doesn't really like him here, cause the plants literally attack him. Yikes, should've just hummed tunes like the others, Vax. Quickly, one exploding arrow from Vex, and he's free. Meanwhile, Scanlan, Pike, and Grog crash land on a rocky wasteland, and Pike's in seriously bad shape. She begs Grog to drop Craven Edge, and when he finally does, they realize the sword is still draining her blood from several feet away. That's not creepy at all. When they tell Grog the blade is evil, he gets defensive, saying it makes him strong and blah 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 blah. But Craven Edge whispers that they're just jealous, pushing Grog towards madness. He raises the sword again, but he remembers stabbing Pike, and instead brings it down on the rocks. Sheesh, that's one hell of a sword. Anyway, Grog collapses completely drained. His muscles are withered and his strength is gone. Thankfully, however, they're close to Tal'Dorei. Back in the Fey Realm, Vex catches a creature stalking them. He says he's Garmally, and he's been drawing silly pictures of them in his book. What a charming first impression. Garmally offers to guide the team, but they're skeptical. I mean, I'd be skeptical too. As they move on, things escalate when some creatures that look like jellyfish attack Vax. They merge into a giant jelly monster, hitting Vex and Kalith with its spores and sending them on a wild hallucinogenic trip.
Yeah.
This place just keeps getting weird. Meanwhile, Vax fights alone until Percy joins him, and they manage to electrocute the creature with this cool gadget Percy calls diplomacy. It's kinda given Iron Man. As they recover, Garmally finally convinces them to accept his help, leading them to an overlook of a city that mysteriously appeared in the Fey Realm. It's a city called Singorn, and Vax and Vex once lived here with their father. Episode 8 starts with a party sneaking into Singorn and dodging guards, but not for long though, cause they eventually get caught. Vex tells them that they're here to see Saldor Visar, their father. They're taken to Saldor's home, but before Saldor arrives, they meet Divana Visar, his wife, and their young half-sister, Valora. Just then, Saldor walks in.
Your father will be pleased to see you.
Perhaps I would have been, had you notified me you'd be gracing us with your presence.
Yeah, this reunion is gonna be awkward. In Tal'Dorei, Pike and Scanlan drag the withered Grog to a cozy cottage, where Pike's great-great-grandfather, Wilhand Trickfoot, lives. He's horrified at Grog's condition and rushes them inside to help. At Wilhand's cottage, the solution to Grog's corruption is a very large pill that, frankly, does not go through the mouth. It has to go through the other end, and Scanlan volunteers to handle the, insertion. It's the things we do for friendship. Back in Singorn, Sildor explains the city was transported to the Fey Realm when Emon fell. Percy tells them that they're looking for Fenthros' bow, another vestige located in a place called the Shademirk outside Singorn. The crew leaves Singorn and continue to the shadowy Shademirk, where Calith senses a deep sadness. Garmily frantically warns them to not listen to the whispers in the area because they belong to Sondor, a cursed guy whose despair can overwhelm people. Anyway, they reach this big tree and Vex is drawn forward. Sondor then shows her painful childhood memories, and as the tree opens up, she walks through, and the portal slams shut behind her, leaving the others to battle tree creatures. Inside the portal, Sondor claims to understand Vex. He offers love, acceptance, and Fenthros itself. All he needs is her heart. Creepy stuff. For a moment, Vex is lost in altered memories, but she quickly snaps out of it. She's not falling for Sondor's manipulation. Outside, the party finally breaks free and fights off the tree creatures, and inside the tree, Vex pulls out an arrowhead and thrusts it into Sondor's heart. The guy collapses, and now they have Fenthros, the third vestige. As they leave, Garmilia reappears and opens a portal to Whitestone. At the cottage, Wilhand's medicine cleared Grog's corruption, but he's still weak. To restore his strength, they'll need to head to Westrun and find gauntlets. Gauntlets grant strength to those who wear them. Grog reveals that his uncle owns these gauntlets, but there's just one problem.
Those gauntlets belong to my uncle. He killed me with them.
Yeah, this'll be interesting. Episode 9 kicks off with a flashback that's basically a war crime highlight. These giants called the Herd of Storms rolls into a peaceful village and just wipes everybody out, including a kid. And young Grog, he's right there in the thick of it, getting praised by his uncle, Kevdak, for being especially brutal. Yikes. Fast forward to present-day Westrun, where Grog, Pike, and Scanlan are hiding in an attic, watching the herd terrorize what's left of the city. Scanlan's confident that the Titanstone Knuckles, their next vestige, is here, currently decorating Kevdak's fists. Scanlan decides that it's the perfect opportunity to be a hero and impress Pike. He slaps on his revolutionary beret, transforms into a dragonfly, and buzzes off on a solo mission to retrieve the vestige. While he's gone, Grog finally tells Pike the truth about his past. He was a vicious member of the herd until the day he was about to kill Pike's grandfather, Wilhand. Something about seeing an old gnome's family made him hesitate, and that hesitation changed everything. Meanwhile, Dragonfly Scanlan is eavesdropping on some herd drama about gold shortages and Kevdak's son, Zanror, wanting to challenge Daddy's leadership. Then his shape-shifting spell wears off at the absolute worst time. He barely escapes into a cellar where he meets Kaylee, a young gnome who actually knows who he is. She and her fellow refugees demand his help escaping. Meanwhile, Grog continues his tragic backstory. When he tried saving Wilhand, Zanror caught them and Kevdak showed up. Kevdak, wearing those knuckles, beat Grog within an inch of his life and banished him from the herd. Wilhand and Pike found him later and saved him, but Grog's carried that shame ever since. Outside, the Dragon Umbrasyl arrives with Anna Ripley, demanding tribute from the herd. Yup, Ripley now works with the Umbrasyl. When Zanror sees this arrangement, he confronts Kevdak about the herd being reduced to the dragon's servants, and Kevdak did not take this lightly with his son. Kevdak responds by absolutely demolishing Zanror with these knuckles. Pike and Grog reunite with Scanlan to help the refugees escape, but then the townsfolk see Grog and immediately flinch away in terror. They look at him and just see a violent herd member, and that hits Grog hard. He realizes he can't keep running from who he used to be. Someone has to stop the the herd, and it's going to be him. The episode ends with Kevdak dragging out a chained-up Xanror, challenging anyone who thinks they can lead better, and from the crowd, Grog shouts his name. In episode 10, we open with Caliph, Vax, Vex, and Percy stepping through a portal onto a deserted hillside. Turns out the entire city is hidden under a cloaking spell, which Vax discovers when his hand literally phases through the invincible magic. At the castle, they learn their 3-day vacation at the Fey Realm was actually 3 weeks in Exandria. Time dilation is wild, folks. Alra casts a tracking spell and discovers Grog, Pike, and Scanlan are alive in Westrun, just as Grog steps forward to challenge Kevdak. Speaking of which, Grog's big moment is not going great. He challenges his uncle to a single combat to restore the herd's honor, but he's still weakened from Craven Edge's curse and gets absolutely demolished. Pike rushes in to help, gets spotted along with Scanlan and Kaylee, and the herd attacks them too. Kevdak literally impales Grog on a spike, but when Kevdak threatens Pike, something clicks. Grog remembers Earthbreaker Grun asking where his strength comes from. He taps into that answer and rages, causing his muscles to bulge back to their normal size. That's more like it. Kevdak activates the Titanstone Knuckles and grows to roughly twice his size, proceeding to beat Grog into a barely conscious pile of bloody regret. When Kevdak demands to know what made him think he could win, Grog gasps out, "Friends," as he spots the rest of Vox Machina on the rooftops. The herd laughs, but as Kevdak winds up for the killing blow, Grog manages to slip out one legendary line.
Vox Machina!
The party springs into action against the entire herd. It's chaos, it's brutal, it's glorious. Grog nearly severs Kevdak's arm, so naturally Kevdak just rips it off and uses it as a club. Because, of course he does. Even Xanror joins the fight against his father. Then Vex has a bright idea. She pulls Grog into her pocket dimension locket, flies him way up high, and releases him directly above Kevdak. Yeah, Grog plummets down and cleaves his uncle clean in half. The impact knocks Grog unconscious, but Pike heals him. Grog claims the Knuckles and makes Xanror the new head of the herd. That night they're celebrating when things get a little messy. Kaylee lures Scanlan to her room, and Randy Scanlan immediately strips down to his underwear, thinking he's about to have the night of his life. Kaylee ties him to the bed, getting him all excited, and then she drops a bomb that she's actually his daughter, while holding a blade to his throat. Okay, not gonna lie, I did not see that coming. Episode 11 starts with Scanlan tied to a bed, nearly naked, with Kaylee's sword at his throat. He tries spinning some romantic story about her mother Leah and their tragic love affair, but Kaylee calls his bluff. Her mom's name was Sybil, and he clearly has zero memory of her. Scanlan admits he's a horrible person and invites her to stab him, but Kaylee refuses. Instead, she locks her magical sword midair at his throat and walks out. Meanwhile, Vax follows one of the matron's glowing threads to the town square, where he has a vision of corpses rising and the dead people from his past, including Sovereign Uriel, begging him to usher them into the afterlife. In his lair, Umbrasyl is getting threatened by Thordak for not delivering enough gold. Anna Ripley convinces Umbrasyl that with the Titanstone Knuckles, he wouldn't have to grovel anymore. They plan one more collection from Westrun before melting the city entirely. The next morning, Vox Machina and the herd plan their ambush, but Vax slips away to this ominous temple, with Vex and Caliph following behind them. He enters alone and steps into a pool of blood that pulls him under. At first he panics, then he stops fighting and surrenders to it. When he opens his eyes again, he's suspended in golden threads, floating before the massive figure of the Matron of Ravens. The Matron reveals that Vex is able to see and bend the threads of fate. Her purpose is protecting the transition between life and death. Then she makes Vax an offer to become her champion. Remember, Vax offered himself in exchange for his sister's life, and while the Matron didn't kill him, she's taking him up on that offer in a different way. When she asks if he accepts this charge, Vax agrees. He feels like he doesn't have a choice after what he promised. She kisses his forehead and he wakes up gasping in the pool, blood-soaked but weirdly calm. Back at the tavern, Scanlan tries making amends with Kaylee, telling her she might be what's been missing in him. She responds that after all the things he's done, or more so the fact that the things he hasn't done, he'd have to do a hell of a lot right. Meanwhile, the trap is set outside Westrun. Umbrasyl lands, gets pissed at the measly offering, and as he takes off, Vex shoots an arrow that springs the trap and captures him. Everyone attacks, but the dragon breaks free and goes invisible, making the fight nearly impossible. The herd is getting decimated, and even with Grog using the Knuckles, Vox Machina is clearly struggling. One of Vex's arrows finally breaks the invisibility, letting Grog land some solid hits. Then Scanlan suggests they get inside the dragon, through the back door. Vax and Scanlan fly up to Umbrasyl's rear end, deploy Kayleigh's immovable sword in his stomach, and the dragon impales himself with every movement. Still, the dragon breaks free and flies off with Vax and Scanlan still inside. Grog throws his axe attached to a rope and gets dragged along for the ride towards its lair. Moving on to the last episode of Season 2, the rest of the party pursues the dragon. Kayleigh as a giant eagle carrying Pike and Percy, and Vex on her broom. Inside the dragon, Vax starts carving his way out while Grog climbs up the rope hacking away. A blast of acid knocks Grog loose, but he activates the Titanstone knuckles before hitting the ground, saving his life but leaving him severely wounded. Vax cuts through to the outside and Scanlan catches them both with his magical hand, but Umbrasyl loops back and knocks them from the sky. As they plummet, Vax calls on the Matron of Ravens. That looks so cool. Anyway, wings sprout from Vax's back as he swoops down to save Scanlan just before impact. Pike heals Grog, and with Vox Machina reunited, they watch Umbrasyl disappear into his lair. Vax urges an immediate attack on the dragon. As wounded as they are, inside the lair, Umbrasyl heals himself, preparing for the Vox Machina's attack. Vax scouts ahead and finds the impaled head of Kamaljiori before the invisible dragon reveals himself and attacks. The party rushes in to help, but they're getting destroyed. Scanlan leads them into a hidden tunnel where Vax rallies them, but Umbrasyl breaks into their hiding spot. The battle resumes brutally, with the dragon reclaiming Fenthras in the knuckles. This is not looking good. As Umbrasyl gloats about the 3 vestiges they've delivered to him, Scanlan sneaks up from behind, seizes Mythcarver from the dragon's scabbard, and stabs him in the eye. Yeesh, that's insane. The Mythcarver unleashes a massive magical blast that kills Umbrasyl, but there's a problem. Scanlan collapses to the ground, completely unconscious. Pike rushes over in a panic to heal him, and let's just say things get a little personal. Oh, that's sweet. We all saw this coming eventually, but damn, I didn't think it happened that fast. Anyway, it turns out this sneaky dude is actually just fine. Percy suggests heading to Whitestone, so Kayleigh portals them back. That evening at a celebratory meeting, Lady Kima points out the 3 toughest dragons remain, and Keeper Yenin warns them to think before they act, because not all is as it seems. Then Yenin's form slowly shifts, transforming into the green dragon Rayshawn. Rayshawn makes everyone else fall unconscious, but not Vox Machina. Vax tries to attack, but Rayshawn easily stops him. She says that she's their ally, and to stop Thordak, they'll need help because she hates him as much as they do. Meanwhile, in Emon, Vorgol tells Thordak about Umbrasyl's defeat. Thordak is unfazed though. Apparently a new army awaits that will soon inherit the world, cause hidden beneath them is a cavern full of glowing dragon eggs, nearly ready to hatch. Boy, that's gonna be a problem for sure. The first episode of Season 3 opens up with the twins flying on Vex's broom. Suddenly, Vax drops off, deploying his wings as he plummets towards a fiery wasteland. He's scouting Thordak's lair in Emon, catching snippets of conversation between Thordak and Vorugol, but Vorugol spots him, and both dragons chase him down. Vax gets a glimpse of Thordak's horde of eggs before barely escaping, only to get blasted by Vorugol's ice breath. We then rewind to a day earlier. We're back at the meeting where Keeper Yenin revealed herself as Rayshawn. She's trying to convince Vox Machina to team up against Thordak, but Vex and Vax are not having it, because dragons destroyed their home of Byrodin and killed their mother. Rayshawn reveals a human form with a nasty diseased mark creeping up her neck. She's slowly dying, and she's furious at Thordak for refusing to help cure her after she helped him escape the elemental plane of fire. The escape that made him more powerful, but also completely unhinged, leading him to destroy the Ashari settlement. And now he's planning to create a whole new race of elemental dragons. To stop him, they need another vestige, an armor powerful enough to defeat dragons. The Plate of Dawn Martyr, located in Ank'Harel. But Kayleigh still doesn't agree and refuses to work with Rayshawn. So Rayshawn just teleports away. After waking the others from the spell, they debate trusting Rayshawn. Kayleigh's still against it and storms off, but Vax follows and finds her on the Sun Tree. When Kayleigh calls him out for acting weird, Vax admits that the matron's deal has been eating at him this whole time. Vax tells Kayleigh he can support her no matter what she decides. And the moment gets, let's say, very supportive. Hell yeah, it's about time! Meanwhile, Percy's tinkering away when Vex brings him some coffee. He starts spiraling about how he put Whitestone in danger again, but she tells him that he needs to forgive himself. The moment gets pretty tender and, well, someone's not exactly thrilled about it. Oh, shut up, Trinket. I'm actually kind of rooting for this one. We then cut back to the opening scene where Vax is half frozen and falling. Percy uses a magical beacon to distract the dragons while the rest of the team attacks. They flee into a ruined building but end up getting trapped. Luckily, Rayshawn appears and teleports them to safety. It wasn't that easy though, because Rayshawn still gets seriously injured by Thordak's flame breath. Gilmore teleports the party to Ank'Harel, and Scanlan immediately borrows Vex's broom to search for Kaylee. The rest sneak towards the palace where the vestige is, but hear gunshots inside. They find Asharu, owner of a powerful vestige of divergence, Cabal's ruin. Asharu gasps that she is still here, which is not exactly helpful, but it's clear someone dangerous is lurking nearby. Before anyone can react, a hooded figure shoots Asharu, snatches the plate of the Dawn Martyr, and jumps straight out of the window. Percy spots something that makes his blood run cold. The thief's got a gun. He immediately takes off after this person. Percy corners the hooded figure, who's none other than Anna Ripley, who's now putting on Cabal's ruin. And Ripley is not alone.
I'm never alone.
She's with Orthax. Yeesh, how is Ripley friends with like every villain in this show? In episode 2, Percy wakes up chained to Anna Ripley's lab, watching her chat with Orthax, the shadow demon Vox Machina thought they'd dealt with, but apparently just inconvenienced. Ripley's got big plans to mass-produce firearms to end tyranny, and use the vestiges as a power supply for her arcane factory. Meanwhile, Vox Machina is searching for Percy and decides to investigate the house where the plate was stolen. They run into a heavy guard presence, so Gilmore disguises himself as one of them and misdirects the soldiers. Once inside, Vex and Vax discover the window was loosened with iridose acid, a substance commonly used by the Clasp, a criminal organization in the city, so they head out to find the supplier. Back at the lab, Ripley explains her setup to Percy. The plate of Dawn Martyr absorbs fire, the vestige she stole from Asharu, Cabal's ruin, redirects magic, and together they power her weapons factory. Percy agrees to help Ripley, but it's a ruse. The rest of Vox Machina makes a run for the old Bacilla, but the hands of Ord magically surround them in the streets. For context, these guys are law enforcement, but they're not here to chat. The crew manages to slip away, but now they're officially being hunted. Meanwhile, Scanlan's at a bar with Kaylee when he overhears people talking about his friends being wanted, so he drags her along to find them. Percy finishes wiring up the vestiges as a makeshift power bomb and detonates the thing, which wounds both him and Ripley, because apparently he didn't think that part through. He gets recaptured immediately, but luckily for him, his friends crash the party and save him. Ripley blinks away with the vestiges right as the guards show up to arrest literally everyone. So Vox Machina just gets dragged before the ruler of Ank'Harel, Jamon Sa'ord. Turns out Mistress Asharu was Jamon's friend, and the party's got 2 vestiges matching the stolen ones from Jamon's archives. Plus, Percy's got a gun that looks suspiciously like the weapon used to murder Asharu. So yeah, death sentence for everyone. Percy decides to take the fall for everyone, so Jamon commutes the rest of the party's sentence to banishment and prepares to transform Percy using this ominous golden headpiece, crackling with energy. A mask starts forming over Percy's face when Scanlan dramatically bursts through the doors. Scanlan whips out Mythcarver and shows Jamon the truth. It shows Ripley fleeing the scene. Jamon realizes the truth and immediately clears the group. That evening, Jamon drops a new twist. She knew Thordak might come for the plate of the Dawn Martyr, so they swapped it with a fake. The real one is well hidden in the hells of Despath, a realm guarded by a demon named Xerxes Ilarez, in the city of Dis. Episode 3 kicks off with Thordak in his lair, tending to the dragon eggs, while grilling Rayshawn and Vorregal about the missing Vox Machina. Rayshawn promised to find them, but hasn't delivered, so Thordak announces that anyone who brings him the party will get Rayshawn's share of their empire, and she's got only 2 days to find them first. Meanwhile, in Whitestone, Vox Machina is strategizing with Allura, Kima, Cassandra, and Keeper Yenin. Allura suggests contacting her former ally, Dola, but Kima's not thrilled about this, because there was a major fallout between the both of them and Dola. They have no choice but to reach out because it's their best shot. Cassandra assures Percy that she can handle leading Whitestone while he's gone, and she notices his distraction with Vex. She urges him to accept Vex's subtle invitation that evening. Armed with liquid courage, Percy knocks on Vex's door. She opens it completely naked and pulls him inside.
Would you like to talk before or after?
Meanwhile, Vax sits with Kalith with significantly less successful results. He hits her with the "we can't be together" speech, because their future is clouded with misery. Kalith asks if joy today isn't worth pain tomorrow and urges him to take the risk. But when he refuses, she tells him to get out if he's too afraid to let her in. As Vax sulks outside her door all night, the contrast between the twins' evening couldn't be more obvious. Later, as the party prepares to travel to icy Draconia, Jarrett Howarth appears, then reveals himself as Rayshawn Shan in disguise, warning them that Thordak is suspicious and they have just 2 days to retrieve the plate of the Dawn Martyr. The party arrives in the Frigid Draconia, where Dola offers use of the gateway to Despath, if it helps against the Conclave. Some must stay behind to reopen the gate in exactly 12 hours. Kima, Allura, Percy, and Vex volunteer, while the others dash through hell. Meanwhile, the rest of the group are in a cavern, when Vex senses a dragon approaching, Voragol, and the dragon attacks with ice shards as they flee. Dola leads them dangerously far away from the gate. Oh, it turns out that Dola is who's jealous of Allura and Kima's acolytes for imprisoning Thordak. Also, Kima and Allura have a thing, and Dola resents that too. She activates a beacon to summon Voragol, hoping the dragon will kill the others and grant her power. This leads to a fight between Allura and Dola, but not for long, because Voragol is literally right above them. Allura makes a shield as a sled, sliding down the mountain, but Dola collapses at the peak, knocking Kima out of the toboggan. Dola talks trash about Voragol, saying he should have finished them off, which is a big mistake, because that dragon isn't here to play. The dude swallows Dola in annoyance. Damn. Anyway, Vex shoots a flaming arrow that slows the dragon just enough for the others to reach a cave, which Voragol seals with ice before hunting Kima. Inside, Vex reassures Allura that Kima will be fine, and so will their friends that are stuck in hell, cut off from their gods. They just have to believe it'll all work out. By the way, after what happened between Vex and Percy, they both decide to call it a fling. Apparently, Vex's track record with relationships isn't exactly all that great. Moving on to episode 4, where the team descends into the city of Dis, while Scanlan transforms them into fiends in order to blend in. Meanwhile, Percy, Vex, and Allura break out of their ice prison, with Allura desperately searching for Kima. Back in hell, Pike's feeling increasingly terrible and keeps seeing a creepy figure. When she tries helping a suffering ghoul, for absolutely no reason, the ghoul triggers citywide screaming that breaks Scanlan's disguise. Ah, great, because now they're being chased by these demons. Anyway, Pike follows a mysterious voice leading them to a tower, so Caliph and Vax shift into flying forms, transporting everyone to the tower guarded by Yank, a massive demon who fights off their pursuers and lets them inside. Now we meet Xerxes Ilarez. Apparently he won the Plate of Dawn Martyr from Jaban Sa'ord in a card game. I guess Legendary Armor makes an excellent gambling stake. To win it back, Pike must play a game called 5 Skulls against him. The stakes? If she loses, she stays in hell forever. Pike signs the deal with Blood and the game begins. Each player gets 5 cards with 1 black skull, and they take turns guessing which card holds their opponent's skull by asking questions that must be answered truthfully. Pike guesses wrong on the first try. Then Xerxes starts digging deeper, asking her about her connection to the Everlight. He's clearly trying to get in her head, and honestly, it looks like it's kind of working. Xerxes reveals that he already knows where the black skull is because her eyes gave it away. When the cards burst into flames, metal bands trap the rest of the team. Pike's now bound to serve the fallen knight, but begs for another chance, wagering her friend's souls. Oh boy, that doesn't sound like a bright idea. Anyway, Xerxes agrees. Round 2 gets really psychological though. Xerxes asks if Pike ever questions needing the Everlight. She lies, loses 2 cards, but he guesses wrong. Pike asks about Xerxes' past, and we learn that he made a deal with a god to save his family during the Great Calamity. But the deal didn't work. He had to watch them age and die anyway. Xerxes still feels that betrayal and regret to this day, and Pike can see that. So she asks if Xerxes wishes his family was in hell with him. He lies to himself and says no, so Xerxes loses 2 cards. Luckily for Pike, she notices his eyes betray him, and she correctly identifies the black skull, winning the armor. Xerxes gives them safe passage through his token, but whispers to Yank to let Pike go but to kill the others. As the party escapes, they hear lightning and turn to see Yank chasing them down. You can't trust anyone down here. In episode 5, we open with Allura frantically worried about Kima, who's alone on a mountain with Voragol hunting her. Despite Percy and Vex urging caution, Allura convinces them to search. On her part, Kima's hiding from Voragol, but loses patience and makes a run for it. Thankfully, Allura spots her, teleports in, and joins the fight. When Kima gets pushed off a cliff, Vex swoops in on her broom and catches her with vines from her arrow just in time. Percy and Allura take turns blasting Voragol until Percy shoots him with a rifle, bringing the dragon down. Allura and Kima reunite with a hug, but their little moment is promptly interrupted when Voragol bursts into the cavern. Meanwhile, in hell, the team's desperately searching for the portal that needs opening from the other side. They're fighting Yank while Caliph works on opening the portal. During the battle, Pike's new armor absorbs flames until it explodes, taking her hair with it. Oh, jeez. Anyway, they dash through the portal with Yank still in pursuit, crashing into the cavern in flames. So now we get a monster showdown no one saw coming. Voragol versus Yank. The dragon rips Yenk's arm clean off and crushes his skull like a grape. But Beauregard doesn't walk unscathed either. Yenk did some serious damage. To finish what Yenk started, Kima grabs Mythcarver from Scanlan and charges forward, driving the vestige into Beauregard's chest. This gives the whole party the opening to unleash everything they've got at the dragon. Then Vex and Kalith shoot a magically charged arrow right through Beauregard's heart. A giant tree bursts out of the wound like something out of a nightmare, and Kima seals the deal by smashing his eye into oblivion. Over in Thordak's lair, the Cinder King watches Beauregard's scrying sphere shatter and declares the rest of his dragons worthless. His spawn are hatching and they are hungry. Anna Ripley chooses this moment to suggest the perfect hunting ground. This can't be good. Meanwhile, Vox Machina needs to rest before Allura can teleport them again. So Scanlan saves the day by using his magical key to conjure Chateau Shorthalt, a magnificent mansion for recovering in style. Episode 6 opens in the Chateau Shorthalt, decorated like a shrine to Scanlan. He launches into a musical tour, showing off what the mansion's got. Percy's workshop, Grog's fighting pit, Kalith's greenhouse, even a freaking bondage room. Later, Vax finds Percy relaxing in the hot spring and joins him, fully naked, might I add. Vax apologizes for being harsh and gives Percy his blessing with Vex, as long as she's happy. Shortly after Vax leaves, Vex suddenly surfaces from underwater. Quick question, what was she doing underwater for that long? At breakfast, the party debates whether to hunt more vestiges or face Thordak. While everyone's chipping in an idea or two, Scanlan's brooding about Kaylee and abruptly leaves the table. Later, the group gathers outside for Allura to teleport them to Whitestone, except Scanlan, who stays behind to find Kaylee. The party arrives to find the city of Whitestone in flames, courtesy of Thordak's spawn. They split into multiple directions to save the city. Vax, Allura, and Kalith defend the Sun Tree, while the others rush to the castle. The castle's swarming with spawn. Grog uses his Titanstone knuckles to go giant-sized, while Gilmore directs them to Cassandra, who's fighting dragons alone. Percy joins her, and they narrowly escape as the ceiling collapses in flames. The spawns eventually abandon the attack and fly away. During recovery, Percy wonders how the dragons found their hidden city. Kayla's convinced that Rayshawn betrayed them. Then, a green-eyed child appears, transforming into Rayshawn herself. Rayshawn says that she couldn't stop the attack without exposing her alliance with Vox Machina. She asks them to consider who else had motive to betray them, but as they prepare to attack Rayshawn, Percy fires his gun in the air. He realized the real truth. It was Anna Ripley who revealed Whitestone's location. But Percy can't trust Rayshawn either, as she's urging them to attack Thordak and Emon, so he terminates their deal. Rayshawn warns that she'll see them in Emon, eventually, as enemies, and vanishes. Later, the party decides they must eliminate Ripley before facing Thordak, as it's the only way to end Whitestone's suffering. Episode 7 opens with a little backstory of Anna Ripley. A peaceful mining village suddenly gets obliterated by 5 flying powerful wizards called the Cerberus Assembly. They're hunting for glowing blue ore, and Anna watches her father die in the chaos. Fast forward to now, and she's standing over a massive factory floor, definitely not processing that trauma in a healthy way. Back in Whitestone, they're burying their dead from the dragon attack. Percy figures out the whole thing was just a distraction for Anna to steal all of Whitestone's residuum, but she did leave behind a clue: obsidian thermite from Glintshore. Vax realizes this was intentional, meaning Anna Ripley wants to be found. Percy wants to tell everyone about him and Vex, but she's being weirdly cagey about it. The thing is, everyone kinda already knows. Later, the party heads to Glintshore, and while they're scouting, Percy drops the L-bomb.
I'm in love with you.
Vex just stands there, speechless. Can't blame a man for trying, but damn, Percy, you could have found a better time. Anyway, Vex, completely distracted by Percy's confession, triggers a delirium gas trap, which makes everyone live their worst nightmares. Later, Percy wakes up, bound and masked, overlooking Ripley's weapons factory. Ripley shows off her giant battery combining Cabal's ruin, steam power, and residuum. When Ripley offers him a partnership, Percy fakes accepting the deal, shakes Ripley's hand, and then shocks her with his weapon, diplomacy, and escapes. Anna, absolutely done with this, transforms into a multi-armed Orthax hybrid and chases him through the factory. Back with the group, Pike is finally snapped back to reality. Whoop, there goes gravity. But her holy symbol fails when she tries to help Kalith. Instead, she uses her own blood to bring everyone back, completely draining herself. Meanwhile, Percy lures Ripley into a room full of black powder, detonating it and wounding Ripley badly. Then he drops his gun, offering to help her break free from Orthax. Big mistake. Ripley reaches out and shoots him point blank in the chest, instantly killing Percy. The rest of the team arrives minutes too late. Ripley's gone and Pike can't help Percy. Vex is shattered, holding his body as she cries. Bloody hell. The 8th episode kicks off with a flashback showing how Percy joined Vox Machina. The crew had broken into a prison on a bounty job, but their target was already dead. While searching, Vex spotted another prisoner, a posh-talking guy named Percy. When she asked what he could offer them, Percy was brutally honest, and he had no money and no one left in the world. Vex respected the honesty enough to spring him anyway, and just like that, Percy became a part of the team. In the present, Keeper Yenin conducts Percy's funeral in Whitestone. The entire town attends. Later that evening, Vex sobs at Percy's grave, devastated that she never told him she loved him. She believes her love ruins everything it touches. Later that night, Vex finds Caliph and apologizes for running away from all that they had. They both confess that they don't want to spend a night alone, and finally, Caliph decides to kiss Vax. While they're asleep, Vax has a horrific vision of the Matron of Ravens, and quietly leaves. In the hallway, he finds Rayshawn in human form. Rayshawn reveals something crucial about Vax and Vex's past. Apparently, Thordak was the dragon that destroyed their hometown of Byroden and killed their mother, Elena. They can avenge both their mother and Percy. The next day, the team holds a council. Grog suggests bringing an army, basically all the friends that they've made. The Ashari, Earthbreaker Groon, and the soldiers of Singorn. So everyone splits up to gather forces. Vex travels to Singorn to convince her father Saldor to send his army. He initially refuses, insisting that they must defend the city, but Vex tells him they've learned that Thordak killed Elena, and if he has any love left for her or their mother, he should march to Emon and prove it. Later, the massive Singorian army arrives. They plan the assault carefully. The armies will engage the dragon spawn while Vox Machina infiltrates Thordak's lair through a small unprotected back entrance Rayshawn told them about. As the battle kicks off, the ground forces march into the city expecting a fight, but nothing. Just smoke everywhere. They finally spot the wormlings, but something's off. They're not attacking. Then the ground starts rumbling. Meanwhile, Vox Machina reaches the back entrance Rayshawn told them about, only to discover it's been freshly sealed shut by Thordak. While Grog's busy punching through it with the Titanstone knuckles, they feel the rumbling too, and it clicks. Rayshawn played them. Their friends are walking into a trap. Back in the city, the troops are about to find out why those wormlings aren't attacking. Thordak explodes out of the ground with a roar that probably woke up half of the continent. And just like that, the attacking forces are engulfed in a wall of fire and death. Moving on to episode 9, where Thordak and his wormlings are tearing through the allied forces like paper, Vox Machina is frozen, unsure of their next move. Then, of all people, Grog takes charge. He sends Pike and Caliph to help the army, orders the twins to get him and Scanlan to the eggs, and has them join in the fight too. Everyone's so shocked that they just do it. The twins fly up to the main entrance, pulling the wormlings away just long enough for Grog and Scanlan to slip inside. That's when Pike's armor misfires, again, accidentally blasting Caliph to the ground. While she's down there, she spots something unsettling, Rayshawn in human form, calmly strolling through the chaos. When Caliph calls out, Rayshawn vanishes. She goes on to tell Vax the truth. Rayshawn isn't helping them. In the thick of the battle, Kashaw and Zara find themselves face to face with Thordak. Alone, Kashaw conjures a magical spear and drives it straight into the heart crystal, actually hurting the beast. But then Kashaw gets cocky, taunting and jabbing until Thordak steps on him. From across the battlefield, Vax watches as the Matron of Ravens appears and takes Kashaw's soul. Vax, Vex, Caliph, and Pike charge forward, remembering Rayshawn's words about the crystal being Thordak's anchor. Vax takes Pike into the air on her broom, while Vax launches Caliph, now a flaming fire elemental, straight into the crystal. It explodes, but does nothing to Thordak. Dude just laughs it off, and shoots out a huge stream of fire. Pike absorbs his counterattack with the Plate of Dawn Martyr, but she loses control, getting blown back again. Inside the lair, Grog goes berserk, destroying eggs while Scanlan fights off hatchlings. One of the dragons cries out, waking the others, and their screams pull Thordak back to his lair. As the dragon arrives mourning his dead children, Scanlan steps forward, claiming he killed them, giving Grog the opening to bring the entire ceiling down on Thordak. They barely escape, but Scanlan's unconscious. Despite the attack, Thordak still breaks free, furious and hunting for revenge, and that's when Pike rips off her holy symbol and throws it away, putting her faith in no one but herself. The plate absorbs Thordak's full attack and sends it right back at him, shattering the heart crystal. As the wounded dragon pants on the ground, Rayshawn swoops in dragon form. Thordak orders her to finish Vox Machina, but instead she turns and blasts him with her poison breath. They fight briefly before Thordak throws her off and flies away. The twins watch him go, holding hands as they did after their mother died, but then Vax leaps into the air. He chases Thordak down and launches himself straight through that heart crystal. Yeesh. Thordak falls down to Earth, now dead at last. Later, Kaelith feels guilty about doubting Rayshawn, so she goes to apologize. Kaelith finds Rayshawn by Thordak's corpse, surrounded by glowing green runes. Kaelith thanks her, but out of nowhere, Rayshawn sends a magical force that starts choking Kaelith's throat. Apparently, Rayshawn is still a traitor after all, just that she needed Thordak dead for her own plan. Thankfully, however, Vax arrives just in time to break the spell, and the rest of the team rushes in to attack, but Rayshawn doesn't even flinch. The runes pulse, and Rayshawn disappears along with Thordak's body. We begin episode 10 with Kaelith crashing out, blaming the rest of the team for not listening to her warnings about trusting Rayshawn. She transforms into an eagle and flies off, telling them not to follow. In Emon, at the ruins of Greyskull Keep, Vex tells Vax that before Vox Machina, it was just the two of them, and they never left business unfinished. She wants to hunt down Ripley, and Vax agrees. Upstairs, Pike and Grog are watching over the still unconscious Scanlan. Suddenly, Pike gets an idea. Pike teleports to Dr. Dranzel's inn with Lady Allura to find Kaylee. Dr. Dranzel is this traveling performer who runs a troupe of musicians, and Kaylee just so happens to be a part of them. Anyway, Pike shows Kaylee the song Scanlan wrote for her, explaining that he genuinely cares. Pike thinks Kaylee might be able to give him a reason to live. Meanwhile, Kaelith arrives in Zephrah and tells her father Corin that she needs to find Rayshawn. He mentions that the Earth Ashari knows of a dangerous ritual to locate someone, but it requires council approval. At the meeting, the council refuses, saying Kaelith's not ready, and besides, Rayshawn will die soon from the disease they cursed her with anyway. Meanwhile, the twins head to Stilben, a grimy port town that looks like it peaked decades ago. Vex spots a dude carrying a pepper box, and Vax tails him, getting ambushed when he's caught. Turns out, they're both members of the Clasp, kinda like a guild of thieves, so they reach an understanding. The guy tells them about a ship delivering firearms up and down the Lucidian coast that sometimes docks in Stilben. The twins stake it out. Eventually, Vax leaves to gather intel, telling Vex to stay put. Naturally, she spots a ship docking and investigates, but she also gets caught. Back in Zephrah, Kaelith remembers her mother and confronts the council again, this time transforming into a fire elemental to prove she's ready. Patisse, head of the Earth Ashari, agrees that they have a duty to help. Patisse leads Kaelith to a nexus of ley lines, which, if you're not familiar, are invisible flows of magical energy running across the world of Exandria, surrounded by corpses of people who failed the ritual. She tells Kaelith to become one with the Earth and follow the thread of hatred between her and Rayshawn. Kaelith tries but gets pulled in too deep and has to be yanked free, failing to locate the dragon. Meanwhile, Vax shows up right as Vex is getting interrogated by the ship's crew. Naturally, Vax immediately starts throwing hands, but in the chaos, someone knocks Vex overboard. Oh, and she's got an anchor tied to her feet. Thankfully, Vax dives in and reaches her just in time to save her from drowning, but by the time they surface, the ship's already sailing away. They manage to fight off the crew members still on the dock, but all they can do is watch the ship escape. We then cut to Zephrah and Kaelith as they attempt the ritual again, and this time it works. She sees visions of peace and horror before locking onto a ship being chased by Vex on her broom and a winged Vax. The twins land aboard stealthily, but as they explore, Anna Ripley welcomes them aboard. Yeah, that's right, it's Ripley's ship, and now they're surrounded. Episode 11 opens with Kaelith drowning in a cosmic overload during her Earth Ashari ritual. She's experiencing literally everything all at once while trying to track down Rayshawn. Patisse tells Kaelith to stop fighting it. She needs to connect to what matters, to who she loves. And deep in her vision, Kaelith finally says what we've all been waiting for. She tells Vax she's in love with him. Her physical body crumbles to dust after that, but then she rises as a massive Earth elemental, traces Rayshawn's location, and drops back to human form like the absolute legend she is. Back in Emon, Pike and Kaylee return to Scanlan's side, giving Kaylee a chance to have an emotional moment with her unconscious father. Kaylee is finally being vulnerable and admitting that she misses him, and that's literally all it takes for Scanlan to wake up. Meanwhile, on Ripley's ship, the twins fight through the crew in classic synchronized fashion, splitting up, regrouping, and generally being badass. But then things escalate real fast when the ship starts sinking. Vex starts taking shots at Ripley, who's now being joined by the fiery demonic figure of Orthax himself.
Care to send our stowaways to the ocean floor?
Gladly.
Vax and Vex are now throwing everything they've got at Ripley as she magically teleports around. And then, in the middle of all this chaos, Vax hears Percy's voice calling for help from inside Ripley's gun. Wait, Does that mean Percy isn't actually dead? Anyway, the twins are getting absolutely shredded, taking hit after hit after hit after hit as they chase this teleporting nightmare through the sinking ship. But Vex finally manages to knock the gun out of Ripley's hands, giving Vex the perfect opportunity to rise from the water with Fenthras in hand. Vex knocks Ripley down, looks her dead in the eye, and then fires an arrow point blank into her mouth. Orthax erupts from Ripley's body in this massive swirl of smoke and vanishes right into the gun. Vex grabs it, and just like that, Ripley's dead. Back in Zephyra, Kaleth has mastered long-distance communication. She sends a message out to the rest of the team, and they all reunite at Zephyra. Kaleth apologizes for running off, but explains that she needed to leave to understand how much she needed them. She confesses her love for Vax, again, this time to his face. And the guy is so stunned he forgets how words work. Now that the team's back together, there's only one thing left to do, to find Rayshawn. Kaleth leads them to the ancient Ziggurat, where Rayshawn's preparing some ominous ritual. But when they arrive, Rayshawn is prepared, and she's already expecting them, standing in a massive chamber with the body of the dead dragon Thordak suspended above her. As Kaleth approaches, Rayshawn doesn't seem surprised. She creates a massive beam of green magical energy that shoots through the rune-carved stones and ricochets straight into Thordak's corpse. But Kaleth attacks with everything she's got and manages to take Rayshawn down. The massive dragon corpse hanging above them starts to stir, and when it wakes up, yeah, it's not just Thordak anymore. It's an undead hybrid of both Thordak and Rayshawn. The final episode of Season 3 opens with the undead Thordak, now controlled by Rayshawn's consciousness, battling Kaleth. Kaleth conjures ice spikes to stab the creature, but they do absolutely nothing. Grog attacks next, leaping directly at the dragon with the Titan Stone knuckles, but this thing feels no pain, and it tosses him and Kaleth aside like ragdolls. Pike's plate of the Dawn Martyr, which has been clutch this whole season, can't absorb the undead flames this thing breathes. The dragon then sends rune-carved blocks of stone flying at them and forms an energy barrier, separating Kaleth from the rest of the party. Kaleth tries reasoning with Rayshawn, telling the creature the Ashari caused its disease, and it should let the others go. Spoiler, she is not interested in negotiation. Just as the dragon sends its final attack at Kaleth, Grog finally breaks through the barrier, and Vax races through, but what they see stops them cold. The dragon shoots out an enormous stream of flame, reducing Kaleth's figure into mere dust. As the dragon prepares to launch another attack, something rises from beneath the creature, and it's an immense earth elemental. It's Kaleth's new form. The elemental lifts the dragon from beneath, sending tendrils of disease curling into it. As it writhes in pain and fear, Vax shoots Ripley's gun into it. Finally, the dragon collapses to the ground in a pool of blood and dies. And as it does, Vax hears Percy's voice calling for help again from the gun he holds. Exhausted, Kaleth collapses and Vax catches her. They kiss, but she immediately vomits from the poison. Later, Kaleth's in bed recovering as Vax cares for her. He prays to the matron of ravens for guidance and sees her form hanging among the threads of fate. She tells him that saving Percy would violate the barrier between life and death, and would come with a cost. Vax demands to know how it would be done. He wakes from the vision to see a black feather drift down upon the gun at his bedside. The next day, the party meets to discuss Vax's vision. Vax says Percy's soul is imprisoned inside Orthax, which is inside the gun, and he believes he can retrieve it. They decide to go for it, and Pike heals Percy's body as best as she can. Vax lies next to Percy's body, holding the gun, and calls to Orthax, saying he seeks vengeance against the demon himself. Vax is pulled into a vision while Pike and Kaleth start the resurrection ritual. Orthax offers him freedom from the matron's control and his position as her champion, but Vax refuses. Vax follows Percy's voice and sees him forging a gun, but Percy doesn't recognize Vax and refuses to come with him. From the ritual circle, Vex tells Percy that she needs him, and that he has to find his way back because her heart belongs to him. Her teardrop falls upon the red-hot gun Percy's forging, and turns into a blue feather. This cute little event restores Percy's memory in the vision, and Vax holds out his hand, and a thread of fate extends between them, drawing Percy to take Vax's hand. As the demon shrieks in frustration, Ripley's gun rises, and as the resurrection reaches its climax, the gun explodes, releasing Orthax into nothingness. Vax sits up, but Percy takes a bit longer. The guy's exhausted, but he's alive. Much later, the city of Emon is rebuilding, and Percy's gradually recovering. Inside Scanlan's chateau, Vox Machina is celebrating their victory. Scanlan raises a toast and reveals that he's leaving the group to stay with Kaylee. Kaelith admits she's been avoiding her Aramente and needs to finish it, meaning she and Vax are leaving too. Percy and Vex head to Whitestone with Gilmore, while Pike and Grog stick together. Scanlan performs one last song celebrating their adventures, and we get a montage of their lives, together and apart. Meanwhile, elsewhere, we cut to a group of cultists in some ominous temple. They're all bleeding from their bandaged eyes while they chant.
We are his heart. We are his blood.
As the chant crescendos, lightning crackles around a spinning black orb and a horrific face briefly appears. Yeah, they're definitely not done. I am, though. Ladies and gents, that is the entire story of Vox Machina so far. Covering this one's been a blast, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to click on the video on the screen to watch another one of my videos. Please like, subscribe, comment, do all those other awesome things you people do, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.